The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to stay.
Dreaming of a life in Portugal? Or maybe you're just curious about what it would be like to move here. My family and I began planning for our move way back in 2020. It took 2 more years to make it happen, and it has been quite an adventure. Before you pack your bags, listen in to hear the real stories of those who've already taken the leap. Every other Wednesday, we dive deep into the experiences of individuals and families who chose to make Portugal their home. Discover their motivations, the challenges they faced, and the unexpected joys they encountered along the way. We'll explore their preparation strategies, navigating bureaucracy, and the realities of building a new life in a foreign land. Whether you're seriously considering a move or simply curious about life in Portugal, these authentic accounts will offer invaluable insights and help you decide if this sun-drenched country is someplace you want to relocate to, or maybe just visit on vacation. Welcome to Mover, Portugal Unpacked.
I ain't going back, I'm not falling. I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling.
Welcome to Mover, Portugal Unpacked, the podcast where we delve into the real stories of those who dare to chase a dream and relocate to Portugal. This week, we're stepping into the whirlwind of preparation with Stephanie and Michael, a couple from sunny California who are about to embark on a life-changing adventure with their 2 young children. Imagine trading the familiar hum of Los Angeles for the cobblestone streets of a historic Portuguese town. Why? What sparks such a dramatic shift? In this episode, we'll unpack Stephanie and Michael's journey from the initial seed of an idea to the chaotic yet exhilarating process of packing up their lives. At least we'll hope it's exhilarating. We'll explore their motivations, the challenges they're facing, and the dreams they're carrying across the Atlantic. Join us as we uncover the why behind their leap and get a glimpse into the raw, unfiltered reality of starting a new chapter in Portugal. Stephanie and Michael, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us, Melissa. We're so excited to talk to you more about our journey in the process.
Well, I think right now you are right in the middle of a journey that is interesting to a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are looking to move to other countries, not necessarily just Portugal, but hearing like the behind the scenes, what people have to go through is fascinating and helpful to other people who are getting ready to embark on this. Mm-hmm. So walk me through your journey. What kind of happened that made you decide to take this leap?
Sure. So I guess we can wind back to we can wind back to 2020 during the middle part or beginning of the pandemic, and we were on lockdown, and we had a newborn. Our daughter was born in February of 2020, and we had a 2-year-old, and we were both working from home. And so I had Sylvia, our daughter, strapped to my chest in a baby carrier and standing at a stand-up desk working, while our son watched Sesame Street as our babysitter. And it was crazy. It was wild times. But during all of those times, we had so much time to talk and connect as partners and as a family, and to, discuss what we wanted from our life and what we wanted for our children and for our family. And so, the blessing was that we had all of this time to reconsider our future together. And we decided, we were talking about what we wanted to do for retirement. And we're like, whenever we can finally be done working, what do we want to do? And we spent our honeymoon in France and Italy, and we both spent a lot of time in Europe. And we love Italy. We have always wanted to go back. We love the food, the culture, the pace of life. And so we decided, okay, well, let's try Italy. And why wait until we retire? Like, let's go now. Let's go now while the children are young. They can adapt. They'll speak fluent Italian. And so this was our plan. And actually, as soon as Italy reopened, Michael went and flew to Italy, looked at Airbnb, or not Airbnbs, bed and breakfasts. We had this dream to open a bed and breakfast in Italy. And he went to Lucca. We had done all this research. We knew what city we wanted to be in. It was great. He had a wonderful trip, but the bureaucracy of it seemed too hard. It seemed too uncharted. It seemed like it was going to be a lot of work. We don't have experience running bed and breakfasts. It was kind of our COVID fever dream. So we didn't let the dream die though. And we knew we still wanted to be in Europe. And the more that we shared our ideas and our plans with other people, Portugal kept coming up. People kept saying, have you considered Portugal? Have you seen Portugal? They have this passive income visa. We know that you guys work remotely. You may be able to qualify for this visa. And it won't be Italy, but you'll be close by. And so that seed was planted. And then in 2021, right when Europe was reopening and we were kind of feeling like more comfortable traveling with the children, we took them to Portugal for the holidays and we completely fell in love. And our dream quickly changed to Portugal instead of Italy. And, the warmth of the people, everything was so child friendly. It was beautiful. We just completely fell in love. And we visited twice after that. And it just kept reassuring us that this was the place for us. So everything kind of just kept leading us back to Portugal, and we pivoted, and that became the new plan.
I think that the pandemic had this effect on a lot of people. We had actually decided we were going to move shortly before the pandemic because we visited Portugal. We visited in December 2019 and then got back and, the world blew up, right? But
Yeah.
I think that it did cause especially families to reevaluate how we were spending our time and if what we were doing with our time was really leading us towards our life goals, pretty much what you said.
Yeah.
So I know that Italy is also another popular place as well as Spain, and each of the locations, Portugal, Spain, and Italy, have their own interesting ways of doing things and expectations for what you have to do to get there. But I do want to tell you that you're both in luck because I actually know two families who purchased bed and breakfasts after they moved here. So I think that the bed and breakfast industry, should you decide to go that route later on after you get settled in, is alive and well in Portugal. And it seems like they come up for sale from time to time. So,
Okay.
Oh, good to know.
Good to know. Things could come completely full circle for us.
yeah,
That would be amazing. You never know. And that's the beauty of this process too, as challenging and stressful as it can be. Doors keep opening. Like we keep opening doors and you don't know what's behind the door, but you follow the path and then other doors open. Things have been working out and we've been staying the course and we've been open to that. And I think it takes a lot of openness and flexibility to be able to pursue a move like this.
it definitely does. I think that you kind of have to lean into taking a chance, being open to failure and that you might have to pivot, as you said, which clearly you guys have already done that once. So, but I don't think that people who want things to be known and, in the box and here's the routine, this probably is not a good move for them. You have to kind of be exactly what you said, open to whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
So, speaking of whatever comes your way, you guys have had a pretty big week. Um, you completed step one. And I have heard from other people that this is probably the most challenging to get to and the most challenging to go through. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened this week for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was a whirlwind. I guess leading up to the appointment was just a lot of chasing papers and chasing documents. So the preparation was, it felt intense because we didn't want to get anything wrong. Because you feel like your life is hanging on to these documents, and that your future will be decided based on how well you can make your case according to this set of documents that has to be 50 pages or less per family member. And this has to include copies of your passport, school registration, financial documents, lease, showing that you have an apartment secured in Portugal, health insurance documents. All these things add up, especially when you are applying as a family. So that was a huge undertaking. And then we had to get FBI reports. We have to send them to Washington, D.C. to be apostilled. And then birth certificates for the kids, marriage certificates, all issued within the last 6 months. So we have these things, of course, but we had to order new copies. None of this is fast. None of this is guaranteed in the current political climate in the US. So we're sweating. We're like, oh my gosh, do not shut down any of these offices. We also had to renew our passports because we realized that they were going to expire in 2026, which in theory should be fine, but they have to be valid for 3 months beyond your initial 120-day residency, which we were just within like a few days of it. So we decided, okay, well, let's go ahead and rush order new passports. All very anxiety inducing as we're trying to order all of these documents, get the passports done. And then we have 2 small children, and applying for passports, you have to go in person. Both parents have to be there. Michael is working full time. The kids are in school. It was a lot, and it was very consuming. And we were saying, I left my job in November. We were like, how would we have done this if I was working time? It would have been so stressful to get all of these documents and get all of this stuff together. I was working on it like a full-time job. So
I bet.
yeah, it was a lot of work. But we made it to the appointment. It was also kind of stressful because I made a mistake. I totally goofed, and I booked our hotel, planned everything around the old location of the VFS office, which is the processing facility in San Francisco that handles all of the visa applications for Portugal, amongst other countries. They do it for India, a lot of the Schengen area countries as well. But the old location still shows up as open on Google Maps. And so, I'm just typing in VFS, global office. I'm just going based off of Google Maps. So we showed to the appointment on Monday morning thinking it's like a 2-minute walk from our hotel. And then they're like, we get there and they're like, oh no, they moved a couple years ago. And I'm like, I thought he was joking at first. It was like, it's not funny. No, really, they moved a couple years ago. So then we're trying to track down where the actual office is, and it was 15 minutes away, but walking. But we were like, we don't have time. So then we tried to hop in an Uber, but we didn't have car seats for the kids, so the Uber wouldn't let us get in.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm gonna run to the appointment because just getting the appointment is hard. I'm like, you follow with the kids, so I'm like running. I don't exercise, so I'm like, it's not like easy for me. And we make it 5 minutes late. They're actually pretty close behind. The kids hustled, and we made it to the appointment. Went through all the documents. We were there for 3 hours. It was forever. We had everything though. All the preparation, organization definitely paid off, and we did it. So we left at 2 o'clock. Yeah, and got the kids some ice cream to reward them for their tolerance of the whole situation, and then we got on the road to head back to LA. So it was a big weekend, big day on Monday.
So I'm going to tell you what my mantra was. Pretty much the whole first 2 years, it was the same mantra. And it was, we can always go back if we have to. Because it was just so much uncertainty. because we could stay here, but we couldn't get approved for our home loan, and it was like, well, we can't do this indefinitely either. So, but I just had to, that was the thing that I told, which might not be very relieving for you too, especially given the political climate right now. But
Yeah.
knowing that you're not going to be homeless, you can go back and you can reapply and you can do whatever, if you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good mantra. And we were kind of saying similar things. Or like, if they have any questions, we have more documents. Because then I started sweating that I didn't give enough documents, enough bank statements. Um, but we have everything. We're prepared. We've done our research and trying to have confidence in the process. So just
This
a
is
lot
the
of hard
toughest
work.
part. It is. It is.
Yeah.
And, I recognize that it's very tough. It is not the process we had to go through. Our process was way easier. But I've done a few interviews now, and your process, what you're going through, is pretty much what I hear from everyone, that it is ridiculously time constricted. And you don't have pets, do you?
No.
No, we don't have
Thank
pets.
God.
Yeah.
The people who have pets, I mean, like they have to get this special paperwork from a veterinarian, a USDA veterinarian. Their pets have to go in, they have to get this special paperwork, and it has to be within 2 weeks of you landing in Portugal. So the vet has to
Yeah.
sign it, and
Yeah.
you get here the next day. So it can't be the day that your plane ticket is for. It's got to be within, up to that. And so I've heard stories of people just like sweating by the mailbox the day before they are going to leave because
Oh,
they
yeah.
have not gotten their paperwork from the veterinarian, the USDA vet. So, but there are
Yeah.
all these time constraints that are just, it is a stressful process. The whole thing is very
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah, that would be extremely stressful. I can't imagine. I mean, even just we don't know when we're going to be approved either. So the timing that you're talking about is okay. Are we going to be approved in 60 days, 90 days? The woman said about 6 to 8 weeks, but we've been hearing 90 days.
Hmm.
So we're prepared to come in July or August. And we're thinking August we have to set a date for ourselves. We have to buy plane tickets, we have to secure, housing, the schools for the children, all of that. So we are planning on going in August, and hopefully everything will be approved by then.
Well, we are actually going to be gone most of August and part of September because
Oh
my
wow,
daughter is getting married in the United States.
that's
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So when we get back, you guys will be settled in and, maybe we can have our first Portuguese Thanksgiving together or something. So,
That would be
That would
so
be cool.
fun. We would love that.
yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll hear all about your U.S. adventures too. I'm so happy for your family, and
Oh, thank
I
you.
think
Thank you.
such
And
a
hopefully you guys will have a house to come visit. They're saying, January 2026. So,
Nice.
wow, so
couple of road
exciting.
trips for you.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes, all good reasons to celebrate. That is great. Yeah.
And I think I shared with you, you guys are getting an apartment in the Lisbon area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was really hard for us. As you know, we really struggled with finding a location of where we wanted to be in Portugal. And I remember you gave us this advice, and you said, you can't go wrong. You said anywhere that you end up in Portugal, you're going to be happy. And there's so many beautiful areas. And, coming from LA, we really like the vibrancy of Lisbon and the city. But we also dream of a slower life, and we love the beach, and we want things calmer. So we have these kind of two, I guess, conflicting ideals of what we want, and we can't necessarily have it all. But Lisbon is by the water, of course, and we have
Yeah.
accessibility to beaches, and we thought, well, Lisbon will be a great place for us to start and get our
I think it's a
bearings.
good jumping off place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
So
great schools for the children, which was another big thing too. So.
we'll be banging on your door too. So we'll be your unwanted visitors because I actually have a doctor that I go to in Lisbon pretty frequently. So
Oh, cool.
if
Oh,
nothing
great.
else, we
It's
can
not
meet
far.
up for
And
lunch.
that's the thing. It's a small country and
Hmm.
everything is so easy to get to. Lisbon is actually not that far from you. The roads are so clean, the highways, like everything is just so easy. The whole country feels so accessible. So
Yeah.
we won't feel like we will be locked into Lisbon and we won't get to do any other exploring throughout the country. That's not the case at all.
No, and I'm really excited for you guys, especially things continue to get more stressful in the US every day. So I don't even know what to say about all that. I mean, it's
Oh,
Lucas
yeah.
is actually there right now. He's working, he's in Washington. And, my Portuguese teacher was asking me, she's like, aren't you afraid for him to be traveling back and forth? And I said, well, he is a US citizen. And she
Uh-huh.
said, yeah, but he doesn't look like one. And I would be afraid if I were you. And I thought, this is somebody who's European. She's young, but
Yeah.
she's picked up on
Yeah.
how scary it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think
Mm.
because we kind of have that global perspective too, it is unsettling. Absolutely. And it's hard because we want to stay informed. So we listen to the news, but it's challenging to
Mhm.
hear.
Boy, yeah, it's overwhelming right now.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So yeah, we're leaving for a lot of reasons, not solely political reasons, but the timing feels good. We
Yeah.
are happy to be starting our new chapter now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like I've been talking a lot too.
Oh, no, yeah.
You want to take this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, Steph covered most of the application process. We did hire a consultant, I guess you'd call her.
Yeah, we had a consultant kind of review our application to make sure that everything checked out. So the other thing, so the income visa that we applied for was the D7 passive income visa, which there's another visa which is a D8 digital nomad visa. And this is the other thing. We've been working on this for so long that Portugal for three years that Portugal's come out with new visas and new
Yeah.
programs throughout that time period. So it's also evolving and changing for them. So back to the bed and breakfast thing. Okay, I guess this is kind of a long story. So originally we were going to apply using Michael's remote position.
Hmm.
So, and they had said that they were willing to sign off on him working remotely from Portugal. This was back in 2022,
21.
spring of 2020. No, 20. Okay, sorry, 2021. And then we had the visa appointments. We were ready to go. And then at the last minute, his company said, we're not willing to write you that letter. There's too many tax implications and we're not comfortable doing that. So yes, in theory, you can work anywhere, but we're not able to sign the paperwork that you need us to.
Yeah.
So that stalled everything for us. And we didn't know what to do. We were looking for other remote jobs, work from anywhere in the world. In theory, there's a lot of them out there. We couldn't secure them necessarily for us in our field with the income that we needed to support our family of 4 and with the documentation that we needed to apply for the visa. So we ended up purchasing 2 Airbnbs, one in Phoenix, where I'm originally from, and one in San Antonio, where Michael's sister lives. And we are using the income from both of those properties as proof of passive income to apply for the D7
Perfect.
visa, which you can use rental income. To qualify for this visa, but we were unsure about the short-term rental income from the 2 properties because that's a bit different and a bit unusual for the folks at the Portuguese consulate to understand and look at that this is consistent income coming in every month. That's being generated by these 2 properties. So we had this consultant look over our paperwork, and she said, "Yes, this is very straightforward. They shouldn't have any questions with it." So that kind of helped ease our minds as we went through this process, and that helped us a lot. That helped us a lot with having some perspective on the situation. So that took us it took us what 3-4 years to be able to actually have this dream come to fruition. And we weren't anticipating buying Airbnbs, and investing in real estate is a whole other thing that we could talk about during maybe another podcast. But we've learned a lot along the way. And yeah, that's what we're using to qualify for the D7 visa in Portugal.
Well, good on you for planning that far in advance because I don't think everyone does. I think that passive income requirement, people are kind of like, yeah, well, we'll get something. And, it's going to be fine. I think a lot of people end up, if they want to make it work, having to move out of their homes and rent their
Uh-huh.
homes
Yeah.
and then move in with relatives for like 6 months. So, which, if that works for you, that's great. But that can also add a little extra stress to a time that's already stressful, just depending on what your family situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be transparent, we consider doing that also,
Yeah.
and we are planning on renting our house as well. So there is and real estate has helped propel this dream for sure.
So
Yeah.
this week you got your consultant, you got all of your paperwork together, and this week was the week that you actually took it in, and now
Mhm.
you are in the waiting period.
Yeah. There's one kind of funny story that led up to getting the paperwork because that was a big process. Steph did 99% of all of the work to get everything done, like she explained. So we had the guidance of the consultant to help, but fortunately, she recognized that the expiration date of the passports there was a potential conflict, so that it made sense to renew our passports.
Mhm.
But what happened is when we
Yeah.
went to get our passports renewed, we got new photos. When the passports were delivered, my photo was distorted. Essentially, my face was just elongated. So it didn't look like me. And so Steph thought it was hilarious. I was not laughing at all because I was just thinking about what it was going to take to get this renewed because we were already like, the timing was looking good. And then I was like, okay, this is a potential wrench in this whole thing.
Yes.
Are we going to
Yeah.
How
be
in the
able?
world did that happen, do you think?
I don't know. It looked like maybe it got stuck in the printer, like, and just kind of dragged.
Oh my
But
God, I was dying laughing when I
yeah,
opened it. I was like, you look at this photo. I was taking pictures of it. I was sending it to like all of our friends and all of our family. But Michael's like, no, I can't use this passport. They're
yeah,
not going to let me in the country. It doesn't look like me. And I'm like, you're right. Like this is serious. I'm like, okay, we'll get the correction done, which took so long. It was so hard. And then we were sweating by the mailbox, waiting for his new passport to arrive in time for the visa application. And then I was like, okay, I'm not laughing anymore. Now I'm with you. This is serious. But we got it about a week before I think our
yeah.
appointment, and so it all worked out. No printing glitches or issues on the current passport. So
And this is the part nobody talks about. These are the things that keep you awake at night, where you're like, oh my
yeah.
God, is this passport going to come in? Is this going to be the thing,
Yeah, and we must have been so obnoxious. We were calling the U.S. passport office every day. What is the status? Is it in
Yeah.
your system? Has it been mailed? Are you working on this?
Well, that's the
Yeah,
other thing. When you call, so you always get a different person because it's, bureaucracy. So you can't really have a one-to-one follow-up. So when you call, you get a new person, you have to tell them the story. And then the tracking number that we had was for the original, the misprinted passport. So that's the only reference I have. And then they'll say, well, it looks like it hasn't been processed yet. We haven't received it. So,
Oh.
and we're like, well,
yeah,
okay, we can see it's been delivered. It was delivered 10 days ago. How is this not in your system? They're like, well, it takes a while. And we're like, we put a rush on it. And they're like, yep, sorry, there's nothing we can tell you. So it was pretty stressful.
yeah. That was stressful.
But
I
now we
can
can,
believe it.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I often complain about the bureaucracies here in Portugal, but I had to have my US passport renewed while I was here. Um, and it's the fastest it's ever happened for me. Can you even
Oh,
believe
wow,
that? I know. I was
that's
yeah.
great.
like, interesting.
Very
So,
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Interesting and good to know. Great to know because, well, we're good for 10 more years. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll see what happens. Where we are in 10 years, we'll see what happens.
Are the kids for 10 years also?
No, the children are
Yeah,
only 5 years, so we
that's what
will.
I thought.
Yeah, we will have to sort that out.
Well,
Yeah.
when you're ready for that, I've done mine. So actually, Lucas did mine, if I'm being completely honest. But we can help you if you need
That's what
help.
husbands are for.
Cool.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
to know. Good to know.
So what happens now for you? You completed step one, all of your paperwork has been submitted. What are the next steps?
Yeah, so that is a good question. So it's almost April, and in theory, we're leaving in July or August. And between that, the next 3 or 4 months, we have to go through our house. We are planning on bringing very minimal items, and we are not selling our property in Los Angeles. We're going to keep it and rent it out because it is an investment for us. And we have to empty our house and then we're planning on only bringing clothing. We're not bringing any furniture or anything like that. But we've lived in this house for 10 years, and between the two of us, we've accumulated a lot of things. So trying to go through and decide what to keep, what goes, what sells, what gets donated, and then all of the children's toys. We're like, what are we going to do with all of these toys? What can they part with? What can they live without? What do they absolutely need? Going through our garage. We're also renovating our garage. We're going to turn that into another rental unit. So we have another side project of a home renovation happening in the next 3 to 4 months, which is another layer of stress. So there's so many moving pieces. And I think we're probably at the point where we need to come up with like a weekly schedule for ourselves to make sure everything gets done and to kind of hold ourselves accountable because the days and the weeks are just flying by.
Yeah. And it's really hard to sell all of your items when you still need them, is what I found.
Exactly. Yes, completely. Because I'm like, oh, we could sell this espresso maker. I'm like, but wait, no, I still want to drink espresso.
You need your coffee right now. So,
My coffee. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's really, really challenging. But we feel like we can do this. And these are just like logistical things that we have to sort out. And we really want to embrace the minimalist lifestyle. And this will force us to do that.
yeah, so I don't know if this is an option for you. We did the same. We sold everything. Some people get a packing container and they go that route and they have their items shipped here. But we had friends and family that were willing to take 2 or 3 bags of whatever. I know that I sent like 3 boxes of books to my brother-in-laws.
Mm.
And then as we have traveled back and forth to the US, we
Uh-huh.
just take an extra suitcase because it is cheaper to purchase an extra suitcase for a flight than it is to ship anything over. And it's just a little easier process. You don't have to pay any taxes or anything like that on because it's your own items, right, that you're bringing over.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. I think that's a really good strategy. And since we're planning on just mostly bringing clothes and toys,
Well, I
that
was just thinking you have had 2 children, in the last 7 years.
mm,
So you start to accumulate a different kind of thing after you have kids. I remember I came across Camille's original diaper bag and it had all of her newborn clothes. And Lucas said, "Are you going to take these to, Goodwill?" And I was like, "How dare you suggest that I part with this?" In my mind, I'm going to give it to her when she has a baby. But that was one of the things that went into storage. It still hasn't made its way to Portugal. But the first book that was the book that they loved and had to be read to. Pictures. We had tons of photographs. So, that's the kind of stuff that we haul over every time we travel over. We bring a suitcase back full of
I'm
those
so
kinds of
glad you mentioned
things.
that. Yeah, we have been photographs was something that we had on our minds as well. We were going to we were going to buy a digital scanner and scan everything, which is another huge undertaking. And yeah, but maybe your approach is actually better. Maybe we just keep it with some family and slowly migrate them over.
Well, we thought about doing the same thing, the digital route. And this is all me. I'm making myself, I'm giving Lucas material to use against me later, but it's me. I'm like, okay, well, I realized that we scanned them, but no, we can't throw the photographs away. I can't
Yes.
let go of them.
Yes, that was my question. Then I was like, well, what then we scan them and then we just throw them away? That seems so wrong. That seems so wrong. But I guess maybe we're dating ourselves too, because now we like very rarely even get pictures printed. But
Yeah.
so many photos from both of our childhoods, like they don't exist digitally. They only exist in hard copy.
Yeah.
And so parting with that tangible photograph is really hard. Yeah. That's yeah, for sure. We feel the same way. That's a struggle. Yeah. We have boxes and boxes of them, so it's hard.
Oh, I did too. I did
Yeah.
too. Actually, I took them all out of the photo albums because that was pretty bulky.
Yeah.
And the idea is that as they make their way over, I'll just buy new albums here or come up with a different storage method for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I'm glad you mentioned that. And that actually takes the pressure off. That's like one less thing we have to do. We don't have to scan photos in the middle of the night. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, that was actually my next question for you is how you would rate your stress level right now in right where you're at in the process. If 0 is, you're sleeping like a baby and 10 is like you haven't slept for a week, where do you think you are?
I guess maybe we can both do it. I feel like 5, but if you had asked me last week, probably like 8. And then, we even when we were driving up to San Francisco, I we were on the freeway headed there, and I made Michael pull over to make sure that we had the bag of all the documents in the trunk because we left early in the morning and he packed the car, and I was like, no, I need a visual. I need to like visually see the bag with the documents, and we were already like 30 minutes out of LA, and I was like, okay, if it's not there, we can turn around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he pulled over. If anybody knows LA, on the way to San Francisco, right by the Skirball, checked bag was there, documents were there, back on the road. So that it was stressful. And then now, we've put everything out there. Definitely the anxiety has gone down a lot. The stress has gone down. But now I feel, pressure that we need to start moving on,
Hmm.
purging the house and, moving forward on some of our other projects. And then also the schools that our children will attend has been weighing on me very heavily. And I made a last minute pivot yesterday to unenroll them in the school that I had originally enrolled them in and move them to a smaller school. In an area that we were originally not planning on living in, and that this, as a parent, I think it's really challenging as well because it's not just you and your spouse that are moving; it's also your children, and trying to
Yeah.
find a place where they will be happy and comfortable. We want them to be on board with the move and to be happy, and we know it's going to be a challenge. And school is such a big part of their day and their lives that we want to have a very soft landing for our kids if they dread going to school every day and this is a battle and we aren't feeling good about it. This could completely derail everything. So
Yeah.
that, and we're doing everything remotely. We can't tour the schools. We can only have Zoom calls and go based off of reputation. And I'm trying to connect with other expats or locals who have their children there and talking to them and kind of getting a sense in a vibe. And trying to balance, I guess, my rational brain with my gut instinct, and trying to lean more into trusting my gut instinct. So we
Not
made
easy when it's your kids.
really hard. Yeah. So we made a switch yesterday to put them into a small school, and they're coming from a big public school in LA. So it's all going to be, new and challenging and hard. But yeah, so that was weighing on me as well. But yeah, stress levels down, feeling a little bit more excited. Um, What, what about you?
Yeah, I would say 4 or 5. I was going to say 4. The thing for me, so the schools were, like Steph outlined, they were definitely a primary consideration and was influencing, what part of Lisbon we were going to live in, and then checking with other people that we know that live in the area and that, send their kids to school there. So getting that feedback was crucial. I was more inclined to trust her gut. And so when she would ask me, I would be like, okay, well, what does your gut tell you? Like, I think, you either need more information or less. Like, just go with like your gut feeling, small school, okay, be done with it, or just keep gathering more information until you have enough to make a rational decision. I think you kind of did something in between, but the fact that that is done is a relief.
Yeah.
And but for me, I think the thing that I find most it doesn't keep me up at night, but this process of doing the converting the garage to an ADU is taking a little bit longer. We had kind of a misstep starting off. We were interviewing contractors. One of the contractors that we talked to seemed to think that we had selected him, even though I told him that this was a process and we were getting other bids. So he submitted the plans, assuming that he was going to be the one to do the work. We ended up selecting the other contractor. But he filed them with the city. So then we had to do this kind of song and dance with the city. We're like, no, we're actually going with this other contractor. So there was that process. We're dealing with an engineer and an architect who did these plans 3 years ago when we were considering doing it and getting the revisions made. So there are a lot of little steps that have not really, we haven't really like gotten a full, we're not fully along in the process as far as I thought we would be at this point.
Yeah.
That's been frustrating. And there are things that we can't control. So that's the hardest part.
I think Lucas would say the same. I know that with our stuff, he gets emails and messages, and it's just little things. It's not ever anything big, but it's stuff that he has to respond to around the building of our house, or this paperwork has been submitted, or you need to go down and file this paper because they need it for this. And when, you're working on top of working, on top of, packing, on top of thinking about schools, I'm sure that is a stressor.
Yeah, it is. And then it's, there's a lot of following up. And then it's kind of like, I mean, it ends up being like you have to rely on emotional intelligence too, because a lot of it is, all right, how far can I push this person without seeming like I want them to feel the urgency and realize this is important without raising the stakes so high, because I might need to raise them higher later. This isn't the most critical thing, but it is pretty important. So it's just negotiating that, as well as, all of the logistical aspects.
So lots of moving parts for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Stephanie, you look like you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Michael had called it an ADU. I just wanted to clarify because I know not everybody's from Los Angeles, and this is a common phrase in LA, which ADU is, it stands for additional dwelling unit, and it's very common here to convert a garage into an apartment as a rental unit because there is such a housing shortage here specifically. So there's a specific process and code and building and permitting for ADUs in particular, but it really just references converting a garage into a small apartment.
Well, you just had some pretty significant fires there as well, which I can't imagine that helped with the housing crisis.
No, it's really wild here right now. And then with all the permitting and everything, everybody's trying to rebuild and get their plans in, which is great. The recovery has been pretty swift, and everybody's been really responsive and wants to rebuild quickly, which is wonderful. But it may, of course, cause a backlog in all of the paperwork and all of the the capacity that these public offices have for processing.
Yeah.
So it may actually cause some additional time for us, but it's okay. We've decided we're going to leave in July or August regardless, and we have family friends here who can help manage the construction if needed while we're gone, and then we'll rent it, when we can. And we have to just continue to try to be flexible, and we're not going to stay in LA to watch our garage conversion be completed.
Yeah.
That is going to have to be something that we'll manage remotely, most likely.
Well,
There's
let's go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say there was one other piece. So, Steph mentioned that we have that for the application, we have real estate as passive income, but it's which is true for the application, but it's not really enough to live off of or to support the whole family. So I will need to work, and so that was one of the things that we're still working on, still negotiating whether or not I will be able to keep my job or whether I'll need to transition to freelance. So I've been applying, which is another thing. It's almost like, a full-time job looking for it's like a needle in a haystack, which are, jobs that you can work from anywhere. And so I have had some interviews. I even interviewed with a company in Portugal. So that's been interesting to see. But yeah, that adds another layer of stress, I think, which is, how are we going to support ourselves? So I think for the first year, we're pretty much covered. So we've got a little bit of a, runway there, but longer term, we do need to figure out, how this is going to work. And if I do transition to freelancing, it's not stable. So I may have some good months where, working a lot, and then there could be some dry spells. So it's just thinking about that is also a little bit of background noise and distraction and anxiety as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the US is going through this thing right now where even if you're a US citizen and it's a remote job, they still want you in the United States. And that can create some headaches when, because to be quite frank, the same jobs don't pay as well in Portugal and the taxes are pretty high. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's important for listeners to know that it's not as seamless. I think it was more seamless maybe 2, 3 years ago, but there has just really been this push for everybody to go back to the office or at least be available to go into the office if you're a remote worker. And that changed the landscape of people who were remote workers and their flexibility to go and do things in other locations.
Hmm. Yeah.
So let's just say you're here, you've
Hmm.
been here for a while. How do you envision living here? What are your hopes for this move?
Yeah, our hopes are, one, safety is a huge concern for us. I had shared with you, Melissa, and we can talk about this briefly. I think people are aware of the issue of gun violence in the US, and our children go to a public school in Los Angeles. They've had, in the past 2 years, two real lockdowns because of folks coming by the school with actual guns and making threats. And this is, beyond upsetting and overwhelming. And, the gut reaction is just immediately pull your kids out, and their safety is the number one, important thing. But then it gets normalized. And you send your kids back to school. And it's this fear that is always kind of there when you send your kids off at the beginning of the day and hope they return at the end of the day. And we don't want to live that way. And in Portugal, we don't have to live with that fear. Our children will be safe from gun violence.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And then we just want an easier, healthier lifestyle, walkability, Hopefully we can ditch the car culture. We just can have easier access to nature, quality food, exercise, just a higher quality of life. Everything is such a hustle here. We've been a dual income family. I mean, since we've met, we've both always been working. Since we had children, we've always been working. We don't have a lot of time with our children. You know, they go to school early in the morning. We pick them up at 4 or 5. We feed them dinner. We do an hour of homework, and they go to bed. You know,
Yeah.
and we want more time with them. We know that our time with them is fleeting, and they grow up so fast. We just want to really kind of slow down and cherish these moments as a family. And if that means that we have to downsize and spend less money and make less money in order to have the time with our family, we are more than willing to do that and kind of take these risks and challenges as they come. And then it gives us an opportunity also to kind of reinvent ourselves and think about different ways of making money and making income and spending money and spending time. And these are things that we talk about, you know, constantly also, that we have a lot of tools and resources under our belts. We're really capable, and we kind of have to, you know, think outside of just like the 9 to 5 office jobs. We have to think more creatively about how we can have other revenue streams.
I think one of the things about leading a slower life is it actually gives you the opportunity in your own head to have that space to think about what you want. Um, I know that I almost I don't want to say I missed being busy, but I was so used to being stressed. I mean, really is what it is. I was so used to having a high level of stress. It was very challenging for me when we first moved here. But I will also say I feel like I have been able to be more creative and think about relearn things that I enjoy, things that
Mhm.
maybe I have a talent for. Whereas I just didn't have the headspace to even think about those things in my
Yeah,
life as an educator. All I
yeah,
thought about was education and getting through the day. I mean, and
yes.
trying to get a good night's sleep, which seemed elusive.
Yeah.
So, I think that you guys have the right attitude. I mean, who knows what opportunities are going to present themselves to you when you have the headspace to say, okay, we did it. We made it over here. Now we can look around and we can see what things are. I mean, who knows? Maybe you'll get a vineyard and become winemakers, because
Yeah.
vineyards are for sale everywhere, Maybe you'll want to go to the Alentejo and buy a cork farm. I mean, there are just opportunities here that we don't even know exist until we're here.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, I've got you
I'm
farming all the way around. Not necessarily that you guys want to be farmers, but
No, I mean, you mean you know us, and we love wine, and this would be a dream. This was, part of the reason why we loved Italy too, was because of the wine culture, and certainly Portugal has this very much, and I feel like Portugal is such an undiscovered gem in the wine world too. But yeah, this is exactly what we're trying to embrace and lean into more, is into the unknown, kind of shedding our old identities of being, office workers and corporate workers, and thinking about life just completely differently. And it does take time and headspace to do that. And it's taken me, I left my job in November. It's taken me probably until about now to truly decompress from leaving that hustle and that job of just being in a mentality of surviving. And ironically, we have spent a lot less money since I've left. You don't realize how the cost of convenience,
yeah.
having groceries delivered, takeout, pre-prepared meals, after school care, even though, I'm not bringing in money, our expenses decreased dramatically in ways that some were planned and other ways were kind of unforeseen. It's interesting. We don't feel like we need the escapism as much. Like we don't go out to dinner as much. We don't do expensive things with the kids on weekends. We're not like feeling like we need an adventure. There's just a lot more contentment and peace and ease in our lives that wasn't there before. And we're hoping Portugal will be able to give us even more of that.
Yeah, kind of an extension of what you've already started there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I will say that none of that would have been possible, I guess, probably without the hustle that we put in. I don't want to say that like moving to Portugal is going to solve all of our problems or that we like did all of this hustle for nothing. We definitely were focused and built something intentionally during the hustle years and kind of the corporate job years.
Well, there's space and need for both, right? I mean, you got to put some effort into getting the things that you want in life. But I do think that there's a culture of you have to do that your whole life in the United States, particularly. And some people thrive on that, to be quite frank. Some people are like, I'm in. That is what I want. I like the hustle. Um,
Yeah.
but I think when you're raising children, it's kind of hard to say that that's the life for you.
Yeah.
It's very hard to have both the family and the hustle.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what advice do you have for anybody listening that is contemplating doing this or maybe has started their journey?
Trust your gut. That's the soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
I would say being patient, um, researching,
Mm-hmm.
going to visit. I think all of those things helped, and just like what we're doing, talking to people,
Mm-hmm.
who have done it, and asking questions, and being open to, you know, to what could be. It's not going to mimic. I mean, the life. One of the things that I'm aware of is knowing and understanding that we're not doing an apples to apples transfer here. So our life in Portugal will not be the same as the life in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So things
Mhm.
will be different, and there are a lot of things that even despite all of our research and planning, there are going to be things that we're not anticipating, and that will be different, and or we're expecting to be one way that will be even more different than we were expecting. So I think it's just being open to that uncertainty is a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think definitely as if you're going as a family, we are very much in alignment in our ideas and the things that we want for our family and the risks that we're willing to take. I can't imagine what this experience would be like if one of us was super excited about it and one was more reluctant. I
Yeah.
think that would add an extra layer of challenge. And I frankly don't know if it would be possible. This kind of has to be something that you're willing to take on together as a family. I think it can't just be one person's dream. It has to be the dream for both people and for the family. And then the other thing is that this is totally doable. We're not like unique. We're not special. We're not like millionaires. We're just like average middle class, people. And we are able to figure this out for our family. And, I think anybody could figure this out if they're willing to just follow the process. And like Michael said, just trust your gut instinct and don't give up. Keep going. We could have easily given up back in 2021 when Michael didn't get that letter from his employer and said, "Okay, well it wasn't meant to be."
Yeah.
But we knew it was meant to be. We felt this together. This was what we wanted to do, and we kept working on it. It wasn't an overnight success thing. These things, like you said, took years, and now it's happening. And it wasn't all that long. And we had some more trips to Portugal along the way, and we had fun along the way too. But yeah, trust your gut and be in alignment, and it's doable. You can do this.
I'm really glad that you said that you need to be in alignment because I think this kind of thing is taxing on your relationship. Not just your relationship as a couple, but it's taxing on your relationship with your family members that aren't coming with you, the friends that you're leaving behind. So there's already a lot of relationship stress. And you're absolutely right. If you're not in alignment, if there's any cracks, it's going to probably really bring those to light.
Yeah, definitely. Construction, international move. I mean, these are hard things to deal with. So
they really are. Is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about before we end this today?
I don't know. I guess I would just say to anybody, who is considering doing, moving to Portugal or really abroad anywhere is to try it. Life is so short, and I really believe that everybody should try to pursue the life that they have envisioned for themselves. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to the way that your life was. And there's no harm in trying.
I love that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Of course, there's a stupid motorcycle outside. So, okay.
Oh, we can hear it.
Okay. Oh, gosh, it's so loud here. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to cut all that out now. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your journey. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was so fun. It was so fun to talk to you, and actually really nice to kind of unpack everything that we've been through and processed. So still super excited, and can't wait to see you in September.
I know.
I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going live. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more.
Today's episode was produced and edited by me. The theme music is the song A Year Ago by Nefex. If you know someone contemplating a move or visit to Portugal, please share this podcast. It's as simple as copying the link you use to access it and sharing it with others you think would benefit from it. You can find Mover Portugal Unpacked on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and Buzzsprout. All links to all platforms can be found in today's show notes and at totspot.com. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Just a gentle reminder, Mover Portugal Unpacked is for entertainment purposes only. It should not take the place of professional or legal advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own. They reflect nothing more than that. All experiences are expressed through the filter of the individual. And hey, this is Portugal. We can all have very different experiences doing the exact same thing here. So please, do your own research and discuss your options with qualified professionals before making this or any other decision. And a final note, any opinions or thoughts expressed during this podcast are not meant to malign any group or organization. This is Melissa LaFleur. Thank you for unpacking today's portion of The Path to Portugal with me.
Way back a year ago,